It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. Welcome to the live stream for your week recap of all the Star Wars news. If you're not watching Elton John at Glastonbury, you should be tuning in live to us. And we've got lots of Star Wars news to discuss tonight. So what is on the agenda? First up, we're going to check out the Mandalorian Season 3, which is arriving this week. The latest Disney Gallery behind-the-scenes documentary. Star Wars Eclipse development is apparently going very, very well, according to the developer. We'll be discussing that. The Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series is coming to Marvel Comics with its own miniseries. James Mangold has been talking what we're calling Dawn of the Jedi. I don't think it actually has a name yet, but that's the era it's set in, the birth of the Jedi, and what that could mean in his movie as he promotes the latest Indiana Jones. Fantatrax are going to be back in the Star Wars Zone at London Film and Comic Con. We'll be previewing that. And Star Wars Celebration Europe and Galactic Star Cruiser have been releasing merchandise, previously not available to the masses, but now it is. And last but not least, we'll be looking ahead to Ahsoka, as Rosario Dawson has been speculating on what it could be like if Hayden Christensen is in the show. And to discuss that and much, much more, joining me from fantatrax.com is Carl Bayliss and Greig Robertson. How are you guys?
Good, thanks, bud. How are you?
Very good, very good. Glastonbury here in the UK this week. You guys very much into the music scene. Carl, your takes on the festival. Let's go off topic to start the show.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I've never really been a big Arctic Monkeys fan. Just one of those bands that I've never really got into. So they were a bit washout for me. And last night, Guns N' Roses. I actually got to see the classic original lineup in 1988 at the Monsters of Rock, and I've seen them a couple of times since, and they were okay. I think Axl's voice has gone south a bit now, so yeah, and it wasn't the best sound mix on the telly either, so yeah, it was sort of muddy and lost in places, but yeah, I've been picking up some of the other highlights for me have been Rick Astley, both doing his 80s stuff and also doing a Smiths set, which he does with a band called Blossoms. That was really good. And this afternoon, just chilling out on a nice sunny afternoon to the sounds of Cat Stevens.
Can't beat it.
Brilliant.
Greg, any highlights for you?
To be honest, I've not watched any of it yet. Wife's been away, so I've been looking after the boys and keeping them entertained. Practice some ukulele with them. But yeah, I plan to catch up. I want to see Churches, definitely. Cat Stevens, based on the recommendations. I've not listened to Mannix in a long time, but reading their set list looks like it was a cracking set list. So I'm going to watch them. Blossoms and Rick Astley's a must, I think. Do some Smiths, and I can hear Elton in the background. The family are watching Elton John just now. He's just come on, so
There you go.
Yeah, so you've been rehearsing up your own set for Glastonbury 2024.
Absolutely.
Ukulele
I mean, I'm still standing.
Darth Elvis Ukulele Orchestra.
Oh yeah, Darth Elvis's son.
And of course, everyone can catch your guys' opinions on Star Wars music and fan-created music around Star Wars as well on Fantatrax Radio and your podcast Desert Planet Discs. And Carl, tell us a little bit about the show.
Yeah, so we've just released another episode. I think it came out last night, actually. Probably while Guns N' Roses were on. So yeah, sneak that one in there. But yeah, that's usual mix of some great music that came out all around May the 4th. Greg and I chatting about how poor we are now because of May the 4th. and the Roosevelt's drop on Father's Day as well. I think music wise, we've got Galactic Empire, who have also just announced a tour. New bands, Sub Radio and Blue Milk Run, and Cloud City Soundtrack, another artist that we found shopping around on Bandcamp Friday, which was May the 5th, I think. So, for people who aren't aware, Bandcamp Friday, the Bandcamp site give all of the money, so they waive their normal admin share, and all the money goes to the artists. So we're always saying to people, if you like the music that we're playing, get yourselves over to Bandcamp or wherever, but especially Bandcamp on Bandcamp Friday, so the artist gets more of the money that you're paying for the music. So, yeah.
And Greg, of course, you were part of Celebrations, big musical event as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience for you?
Oh yeah, hashtag Cantina 2 was every bit as magical as the first one, if not, I mean, it was more so magical than the first one. The first one was amazing, but yeah, having the same lineup as hashtag Cantina, DJ Elliott, Level Up Leroy, Blues Harvest, and obviously Ash and myself. It's just an incredible night, just magical. Like, if you missed it, come along to hashtag Cantina 3. Hopefully there will be one, because it's just magical events. This something for everyone there. If you're a Star Wars fan, you'll love it. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you'll probably love it as well. And there's something for music. There were signing guests for the first time at this one. Brian Herring is the stage host. You had Mike Quinn guesting. It was just incredible. To be a part of it again was just really special.
Yeah. And we'll be talking Celebration a little bit later in the show. We'll be looking at some of the products that are going to be available to the masses again. But first up in the news, we are talking Disney The Mandalorian Season 3, the Disney Gallery behind-the-scenes documentary in the making of the third season of the show. I kind of wanted to start by asking you what your take was on Season 3, because I think for a lot of people it was a bit of a mixed bag. It wasn't necessarily for everybody. Carol, your thoughts on Season 3 of The Mandalorian?
Yeah, well, for a full in-depth rundown on what we thought of it, tune into the latest Desert Planet discs. But overall I really enjoyed it. I know people have said that it wasn't, sort of veered off in different directions, and it wasn't the the focus was taken away from Mando and Grogu. But I think, as Greg and I said in the show, you've kind of only got so much you can do with that story. Getting into scrapes week by week, and then, oh, look, yeah, we've got into a bit of a scrape, and we get out of it. And it worked for the Incredible Hulk and the A-Team. But I think the way they're obviously setting out the building blocks for the wider Mandoverse, if you like, ahead of the announced at Celebration movie, I think they need to broaden it, to bring in more characters. So I really enjoyed it.
Greg, I guess your take on the season as well, and what do you want to see behind the scenes of from the third series, perhaps?
Well, I think you get a little taste of it above there in the video. One of the standout things for me was and I thought it was a real ballsy move, was the Phil Tippett creature in, was it the third episode or was it second episode? One of the earlier episodes of the series, with that kind of the red eye and sort of little brain-like creature in it. Having 2-3 months back watched Phil Tippett's Mad God on Shudder. It's if you've not seen it, I highly recommend going to watch it. Great bit of stop motion work from him. That was incredible, and it was great having him back in the mix. I love the show in general. I thought, I really enjoyed all the episodes. I liked the fact it was more of a Mandalore backstory, and obviously bringing in what's her name now? It's gone out of my head.
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan, a bit more, and spending time on Mandalore. Even episode 5, the I think that's the most controversial one with Jack Black and Lizzo. I mean, I love Jack Black, so Jack Black's okay in my book and everything he's in. He's just Jack Black. Overall, really liked it. I liked how it kind of ended, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here, especially with Ahsoka coming out in August. Overall, I was very happy with it.
Yeah.
No complaints.
I think for me, I want to see more sort of behind the scenes of the 7th episodes, which is the one that they showed at Celebration, because I kind of felt like that was almost movie quality in terms of the scope and scale of that, and I'd be really interested to see how they did some of that, especially maybe the confrontation between Moff Gideon and Mando, the sort of behind sort of the scenes kind of little meeting of the Imperials, or can we still call them Imperials in that era? I guess we can. The fallen Imperials,
remnants,
the
whatever
remnants,
they call it,
and their sort of little cloning kind of facility there, and I'd like to see some maybe commentary from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni as to their thinking there and whether they're going to be developing that further, because it certainly seems like it's heading to try and connect the cloning technology all the way through to sort of episode 9, I think.
Yeah. That was the other thing that I loved about it, was seeing the Praetorian Guards in it, being a big one of the big fans out there of Last Jedi. Seeing the Praetorian Guards pop up towards the end of the series as well was like, I got all excited about that, and I know it'd been rumored for a while. I think this concept art came out in advance that they might be popping up in the show, but that was a jump up moment for me.
I do think like elements like that, like The Last Jedi's Marmite for me. I think you either love it or you hate it, kind of thing. But little moments like that where you start connecting little bits of Star Wars together, I think helps elevate the sequel trilogy if you weren't initially a fan of it. And I think we've kind of maybe seen that over the years with the prequels, where I think most people don't want to see anything bad said of the prequels anymore. And like, I think the Obi-Wan TV series was a big thing for fans of the prequels to get a chance to see almost a little bit of redemption for the actors involved in that series to really get some kind of critical praise, I think, for their performances. So, I think over time we'll see more and more sort of links to the sequel trilogy, and it'll we'll see maybe that evolution that we've seen with the prequels, and the sequels will maybe get some extra credit further down the line, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and again with the Daisy Ridley movie being sort of announced, they kind of almost need to. Okay, we know where we're up to with the end of Return of the Jedi. How did we get from there to the start of Force Awakens? And especially if you're then going to carry that story on, is that going to be something? There's callbacks to that pre-Force Awakens era, and the rise of the First Order and all that sort of thing. Because clearly there are Force sensitive people, or sensitive beings out there. So what was happening to them the whole time?
Bring back Broom Boy.
I was going to say, bring back Broom Boy.
Could well happen. Next on the news front, maybe another project that's under the microscope at the moment, controversial, very well documented criticisms for the developer, people not happy that they're involved in a Star Wars project, but the video game Star Wars Eclipse development continues, and the developer, in response to a question about the game and where they're at, has made the claim that the problems and criticisms are far behind them. That the team's working every day on the project's going very, very well. They're focused on the game development, and that's the only thing that interests them. They're leading the studio in another direction to have perfect editor control over their studio. We can check out the trailer that they released at the time. Not that one, but this one, which was highly praised, I think, the trailer for Star Wars Eclipse at the time. Obviously, it's not in gameplay, but people were kind of excited for it. High Republic era, people were excited for, but then sort of news about legal actions being taken against the developer for, some really terrible comments attributed to their owner at the time. The company's since been bought, but the owner's still involved. It's kind of clouded the project. Can fans sort of put this problems with the developer to one side and look forward to this game, or do you think it's one of these projects is kind of doomed to failure from the off, Carol?
Yeah, it's always difficult. I mean, we're seeing more and more the sort of public opinion and sort of the past coming back to haunt people from comments that they've made online or reported to have made and things like that. So you do wonder whether the groundswell of opinion would be such that it would be doomed to failure, and indeed, with the announcement of I can't think of the game now. They've just recently announced another open world game. Outlaws, was it?
Yes, Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah. Then it depends how far along the development chain this is and how it gets tied in and how it gets sold. Will that steal the thunder? Will Outlaws steal the thunder from this? And I think since the sort of demise of LucasArts games, there hasn't really been a lot of quality output in the Star Wars gaming arena. You've had the Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor games, which have been largely well received, more from the point of view of the storytelling element of it. I think the gameplay is fairly standard gameplay, and what was the other EA game? Squadrons.
Yeah.
But neither of those were really groundbreaking in terms of what they're trying to do, or you've had Star Wars flight sims before, you've had first person sort of shoot 'em up type or third person shoot 'em up type things. The fact that you're playing a Jedi, there was a lot of the original PlayStation games, the film tie-ins and stuff like that, and what's it? The Starkiller games as well.
Yeah.
Force Unleashed.
That's it. Force Unleashed. Those were very similar gameplay type things. Playing a Jedi, getting the powers. Yes, you've got slightly different elements coming in, but overall, they're not really vastly different to things that have already been put out there. So I think there is room for somebody to do something to try and push Star Wars gaming back into the sort of thing that isn't just played by Star Wars fans, that actually engages the gaming community. And again, I think that's the sort of thing. If the game is really, really good, then if it pulls in people who are just gamers and aren't really caught up in the noise of Star Wars, then it may become popular in that right, rather than necessarily being caught up in the opinions of Star Wars fans.
Yeah, Greg, do you think it can sort of overcome the shadow of the allegations against the CEO, and that's kind of it kind of led to fans sort of calling for a boycott. The original announcement of the game, and I think that kind of still carries on very much in people's minds to this day as well.
Yeah, I think it probably will. I mean, the proof will be in the game, I guess, at the end. If the game's captivating and pulls you in. I mean, looking at the trailer footage, I mean, I was sold straight away, and I'm guessing Carl was sold instantly as soon as there's a guy banging a drum. Like,
Yeah, that's it.
if you could be the drummer, you'd be happy with that.
That's it. Star Wars drums.
It looks amazing, and obviously Carl mentioned Outlaws there as well. I think that's going to take you away a little bit from traditional Star Wars games because you're not going to be running about with a lightsaber. The characters are very much, from what we know, like smuggler type character from what we can tell. It's going to be a very different game. But yeah, I think the controversy will probably die down if the game's good. If, obviously if people don't like the game or, the initial reaction reviews for the game poor, they'll just boycott and that'll be it.
I think as well that there's hundreds of people involved in development of games now. It's difficult to bring down a whole game based on the behaviours of sort of one individual or allegations against one individual as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next news in the cycle. And we have news coming out from Marvel Comics that they're going to be adapting the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series with a 6-issue miniseries, one episode for one comic. It's going to be written by Jody Houser with pencils by Salvador LaRocca as well. People are kind of, I think, mixed opinions as to whether there should be adaptations of the TV shows and comics, and they maybe prefer the idea of something a little bit more original than an adaptation. Carl, I'll come to you first, and your thoughts on does the Obi-Wan Kenobi series deserve an adaptation, or should that slot in the production of comics be given to something more original?
I quite like the comic adaptations. I've got some of the IDW ones that were Rogue One and Solo. So I quite enjoy them. Admittedly, I tend to wait for them to come out as like a trade. So it's a nice, slightly weightier comic book rather than the sort of episodic type. The only comic that I'm still actively getting is the Afro comic. As Anakin Crespin saying there, as a comic collector, I appreciate the ability to purchase these for the covers, and that is the thing really. It spans two things. If you're a fan of the show, great, but if you're a fan of the art, and I know Salvador LaRocca is a really sort of good name to have attached to the project. So there will be people buying it just for the fact that he's got the it's featuring his artwork. So I will probably get the trade of it, and it's enjoyable to keep and read. And should Kenobi ever disappear from Disney Plus, not that they're setting a precedent for anything like that, but if we're not going to get a DVD, then at least you've got some physical media to hang on to go back over the story should you so wish.
Yeah. Greg, is it something you'll add to your collection?
Probably not. I've kind of taken a back seat a wee bit from the comics, just because there's so many to read, and I guess the artwork looks incredible. Like the cover artwork we've seen for this looks really, really good. I guess I'm a bit of frustration that they don't do it for every property. I think do it for one, I would do it for them all. You'll probably know. Was it a Caravan of Courage adaptation back in the day?
Don't believe there was, no.
Well, I'm going to throw my toys at the pram, and Caravan of Courage holiday special
You
deserve.
want a Young Jedi Adventures. You want Young Jedi Adventures, don't you?
I do.
Comic book.
We've had The Mandalorian, so Marvel have got their series going there.
Yeah.
It's also getting a manga adaptation out in Japan at the moment, which is coming to America and thus the rest of the Western world later this year from Viz Media, I think. And Obi-Wan's going to be the second series getting adapted. Book of Boba Fett hasn't so far. Perhaps it will when it reaches its conclusion.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
What would excite me a bit more if they were adapting it and adding a bit more to it? What happens in between the episodes? Building it a bit more, so you get the same way you got your novels. Rise of Skywalker, for example, has massive plot points missing from the movie. Were told in the book, but it's like, put it in. Tell us all that in comics. And
yeah, they kind of did that around the prequels with some of the sort of one shots that focused on individual characters and expanded a little bit on their story and a little bit side scenes, effectively. Something like that might have been nicer. Just one focused on Obi-Wan, one focused on Reva, one focused on Vader.
Absolutely, that sort of thing would have been, I think, a better thing to do. It's a great adaptation.
Yeah, how 3PO got his red arm, the one shot. I've got that one.
Got that one, yeah.
It's
no Caravan of Courage.
Yeah, it's still no Caravan of Courage there.
Still no Caravan of Courage. Moving on from that to the next, I think probably the biggest news of the week has been comments from James Mangold with regards to what we're calling Dawn of the Jedi, but really that's the era of the film set, and I don't think that's necessarily what the film's going to be called. But he's had a couple of articles out, very similar comments with regards what his film's going to be, very similar to what he said at Celebration, that he kind of pitched this idea of the 10 Commandments about the dawning of the Force, and what is it to have found this power and not understand where it is, and Kathleen Kennedy's kind of chimed in and basically suggested that he's put together a basic treatment in his head already. He's a very quick writer, and she's wanting to move this forward quite aggressively, and in his own interview with IO9 as well, he discussed kind of pitching it, and he talked a little bit about, he'd worked on the idea of a Boba Fett movie that kind of didn't happen for various reasons, and ended up becoming a TV series, and he's assumed that they were looking to go forward in the timeline, and that going backwards wouldn't be of much interest to Lucasfilm, but he was surprised that it was. And so really he's creating this origin story of how the Force came to be known, understood, wielded and harnessed. Is this the kind of movie that you guys would be excited to see? I'll go you first, Carol.
I was just about to defer to Greg, but
there we go. Let's go.
Yeah,
Greg, you go for it.
Oh, sheesh. I think I've not. I'll be honest. I've not read much of the High Republic. I think I read the first book, or I didn't read it. Audiobook of the first book. I think, it'd be interesting to go that far, or further back than that. And I think again, planting seeds with the panels at Celebration. You saw David Tennant's droid. I can't remember the name of it now. In Ahsoka trailer. And the fact that he's 25,000 years old, apparently, I was like, oh, that's what they're saying this time period for Dawn of the Jedi, whatever it's going to be called. So I reckon he's going to pop up in it. But exciting, it's a good, interesting concept. Obviously, going that far back, but nobody's aware what the Force is. It's they're discovering it and how to use it. I think it'll be quite interesting.
I think one of the things that James Mangold said was of interest to him was that he wouldn't have to learn too much of the Star Wars lore. He would effectively have a blank slate.
Yeah. So, yeah, has he watched any Star Wars movies?
Not since Caravan of Courage, and it didn't get an adaptation. He thought, "Damn it, no."
That's it.
I'm interested in the fact that obviously it's that old, that far back. You mentioned Ten Commandments. What's gone really quiet is obviously the Taika Waititi's project, and the original image of that was like what I thought was very sort of caveman style Star Wars imagery and the image, which makes me think that was going to be that movie set that far back. So is this effectively replaced that, or just
I think Taika's project's gone the same way as Ryan Johnson's, where it's very much in the area of we would like to work with him, but he's probably very busy and doing lots of other things, and it's not going to happen anytime soon.
which is again makes me interested with James Mangold. Obviously, he's just finished Indiana Jones, but just the other day they announced he's going to be doing Swamp Thing as well for DC, which I think, me personally, I'm more excited about that. I would say Swamp Thing after Batman's probably my favorite DC property, so that excited me a bit more than Dawn of the Jedi. But that's me.
That's you,
Carl.
Yeah. Well, I've got a title, so if James Mangold wants to, sort of buy the newly trademarked The First Jedi, or The Rise of the First Jedi, then just get your people to phone my people. But yeah, It's one of those things. I think I sort of say this about all Star Wars properties, really. The fact that we're getting new Star Wars and new stories and exploring different era within the whole sort of universe is great. Some of it will work, some of it won't work. Some of it I'll like, some of it I'll be a bit meh. But generally, the fact that we're getting great, that people are attempting these things is great. So, yeah, exactly. Smorgasbord.
Something for everyone.
Somebody I met at Celebration, and I completely forgot who said it. So I do apologise, but they said, they say Star Wars is for everyone, but not all Star Wars is for all people. And that's maybe slightly paraphrasing it, but that is very much sort of my outlook on it now. Is there's going to be loads of stuff coming out. I mean, we in the latest Desert Planet we talk about Young Jedi Adventures, and both Greg and I have got kids, so we're used to that sort of style of television, and it's really, really good. It's not meant for us, and we're presuming it's not particularly canon in any way. But equally, if it does the job that it's been designed to do, which is hook young kids into Star Wars, that they then go on to watch Rebels, Clone Wars, and into the TV shows and the movies and everything else, then great.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a different title from you, and I'm going to call it The First Midi-chlorian.
Oh!
Right. Because if you're first discovering the Force...
Let's copyright all these.
Because if you're first discovering the Force, you're not a Jedi yet, are you? Because a Jedi is basically the religion formed by a group of people that have these powers. So
it's the first Force.
The first Force person to wield the Force doesn't necessarily have to be good.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be bad. He just doesn't know what he's got. It's kind of a confusing kind of time. I would have thought that the religions, the Sith, the Jedi, come further down the line when there's a lot more of them, and they've kind of got a working idea of what these things is.
I'm going to suggest he makes it a musical and calls it "Can You Feel the Force?"
That could go down well.
Well, you'd never get the licensing for that, Greg. You'd never get the licensing.
That's going to be a holiday special, isn't it? There's going to be a Star Wars musical.
It's going to be a Darth Elvis track.
Hey, I'll help write a Star Wars holiday special. I'd be overjoyed to see another Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah,
I thought James Guardian's one was amazing.
I
Loved
enjoyed
that.
the uh, Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. To be honest, it was quite good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well put together. Something you could easily do with
Yeah.
Star Wars. But yeah, I don't know. Is it going to be Jedi? Is it going to be Sith? I don't know. Is it going to be set kind of before you've kind of formed all that? Is it going to be about you discover these powers? How do you go about forming a religion round about them? I don't know. Because kind of George kind of backed away from the idea a little of it being a religion by the design of the midi-chlorians. I kind of felt he made it a little bit more scientific and less mystical. I don't know.
No, I think you have got a point. I mean, it depends. I guess the ultimate thing with it is, are they going to flesh out and do more in that era rather? So you end up building towards that story of people beings discovering the power.
The kind of thing that interests me, I think, more about this film is the idea of the film. It doesn't feel like a standalone film, does it? It feels like it's the beginning of something.
Yeah. So you build from finding that you have this power to finding other people that have this power, and then all of a sudden it descends into, well, some people are greedier and it becomes a.
It doesn't feel like a film to me. I don't know until we kind of really know what the plot's going to be. It feels more like a TV series where you're in a kind of building to something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Difficult story to tell over 2 hours. I don't know.
Yeah. Going back to my idea, I think you could have do the wavy hand thing and have jazz hands in there. Should be pretty cool. Jazz hand, do the wavy hand thing. Woo.
Yeah.
We need to think of an anthem if it's going to be the very first generation of Jedi and Sith. Needs an anthem song. We'll think about that between now and the end of the show. I'll come back to you at the end of the show, see if you've come up with anything. No pressure. Next on the news front, London Film and Comic Con is coming back on Friday the 7th of July through to Sunday the 9th. And Panther Tracks will be there in the Star Wars zone with our booth. And you'll also find us across the event on the stages, doing various interviews on the Friday on the main stage with Mike Edmonds and Katie Purvis, with our very own Mark Newbold. Then Making Tracks will be live on the stage with Eric Walker on the second stage. On Saturday, more Making Tracks, this time with Robert Ems, and later that day with Michael Carter. And on the Sunday with Julie Sharp. I can't make it down to London Film at Comic Con. I've got another engagement that's going to make it impossible for me, but will either you guys be heading down to the show?
Sadly not for me. I'm off to the States a few days later, so money's too tight to mention.
Yeah.
Especially after the Roosevelt's drops in May as well.
Sporting a very nice one this evening as well.
Toy Story,
yeah. I'm also gigging that weekend, which, as Greg points out in the latest Desert Planet, when am I not gigging? Which again, I'm not gigging right now. But
Mark Newbold's going to be there. Mark Mulcaster, both from Making Tracks. Paul McHugh's going to be there. You'll be able to film some pretty special little things with him and Yoda if you head along to the Panther Tracks booth. Baby Yoda, that is not the real Yoda, Baby Yoda. And who else is? I think we've got lots more of the team joining them as well.
Yeah. If I cannot all make it down on the Sunday, I'm going to see if I can make things, juggle a few things around and see if I can get down there on the Sunday. But
yeah,
I had the pleasure of being there last summer in the Star Wars Zone, and it was a great atmosphere. Obviously, Panther Tracks being there, Star Wars Sessions, I think, are there again. If you can go out for a curry with Mark Newbold and the Star Wars Sessions guys, I highly recommend it. And it's a great place just across the road. I think
Carrie,
the Star
I thought their hideout was Greg's. That's what I'm knowing.
That's
Sausage rolls from Greg's is what I'm told.
Yeah.
It's the Star Wars Sessions guys thing.
That's
No,
that's the daytime sustenance.
yeah. No, it was fantastic last year. It was great. It's really well laid out last year, and obviously the costume group's right next to it, and some of the signing guests. So if you are going, get yourselves down there.
Yeah,
Let's hear
100%.
the Tampa team.
100%. An event we were all able to make it to was Star Wars Celebration. And as of tomorrow, any attendee, anyone, general public, can have the opportunity to purchase some merchandise from Star Wars Celebration. T-shirts, versions of the passes, glasses, skateboards, you name it. Lots of things celebrating the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of Willow tea sets as well. Carol, have you got your eyes on anything you weren't able to pick up at the show?
Not really. I did have a quick look because obviously, having been to the show, we got the account that you used for the show gave you access from Friday just gone. Yep. So I did go and have a look what was in there. I was still kind of tempted by the Max Rebo plushie set, but I'm everything crossed at the moment that they do a Black Series of that at some point. Might tempt me out of Black Series hibernation. Other than that, I was fairly lucky at the show. I managed to get into the store relatively early on during the convention, so pretty much most things were in stock at that point. The only other thing I saw was one of the Ahsoka t-shirts, which I don't think was in. They only put the t-shirt up for sale after the Ahsoka panel. But I've got I picked up an Ahsoka t-shirt with the logo, with the all the runes and Orabesh and the show logo, and the Narkina t-shirt as well. So I know I think I picked up a few other little bits as well. So yeah, that was about my my celebration shopping done.
I stuck to the show program, and post the show, I got one of these, which was the Mandalorian Armorer bottle opener, which I don't understand why they weren't dishing out at the show, because it's not heavy and dangerous and spiky or anything. But that came with a huge clunk through the post box a couple of months back. So still got
I got the program. Yeah, I got the program as well.
It's always an essential. Yeah,
I think that might have been it for the actual show store. I was kind of tempted by the badge set, although I did manage to get around to the artist Alice. She'd got a booth over in the South Hall, and she was doing like postcards, so bigger than the actual entrance badges, and she was doing the set. I think that was £100, but obviously in that you got the artwork that was you don't get in the badge set, which is the Jedi Master VIP and one of the security badges, I think, which is Django. I can't remember now. But there's two of the passes basically that you don't get because obviously Jedi Master VIP is purely for people that paid for that, and I think the security one was the other one. But you could get all of them as a postcard set, and I sort of went, shall I get it? Shall I get it? And then realised I haven't really got anywhere to put it in the display because I've got these lovely stamps.
Greg, was there anything from the shop that was a must buy for you?
When I think I got pretty much everything I wanted when I was there. Again, I think I got in the Friday late on. The one thing I was really interested in was the Endor sort of waterproof jacket, which I got. My son bought the same program, and I got the Jackson pin. I think when you went to the county, you spent over a certain amount. You could, I think it was that or the Rancor was the two kind of exclusive pins you could get if you spent over a certain amount.
Yeah.
So I got the Jackson pin. In terms of what's on the website now, I was the same as Carl. I think the Max Rebo band plush was one thing I was interested in, but I did get a Max Rebo singing plush a few years back, which I was like, well, this is the same as that with the other two. But yeah, Black Series, putting that out, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
So there was nothing. I mean, I went on the website earlier and had another look. I think the badge set's since sold out. I bought them in Essen a few years, obviously it's got 10 years ago now. So that was interesting, but nothing on there for me. There's a couple of t-shirts I did quite like, but I've kind of stopped buying t-shirts because of buying too many shirts. So.
Because spending like way more on the Roosevelts instead.
Yeah,
I have to admit, in the Roosevelts, I've got the underlay, the polo shirt, and the shirt for quite a few of them now, which is just when am I going to wear them? But they're great shirts. The only thing I would really like from the shop, and I don't think it's available, is the bag, which I missed out on at the show. And
the tote bag.
Yeah, the tote bag. Don't think it's up there.
Yeah, and it always surprises me that, I mean, that went really quickly.
Yeah. I've always tried to collect the tote bags from all the celebrations, and I'm missing that one. If anyone wants to help me out, get in touch. news@fathertracks.com.
There you go.
But that I'm kind of missing out on. So yeah, I'll work on that one. They do occasionally pop up on eBay, but not paying the prices they're asking for at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and that's the annoying thing sometimes with those is, some of the stuff that's sold out, gets
resold.
Resold.
Scalpers,
and it's like, I mean, yes, if you've got the money to do it, then, you see the same, just talking about Roosevelts, you see the same in the Roosevelts community. There are people that have, bought up the exclusive shirts they released at Celebration, and, are now selling those for like, I think I saw one today for the Stormtrooper one, which is one of the ones I picked up. Somebody was selling it for $300.
Wow.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, crazy. Like I'm saying, this week's episode of Fat Tracks brought to you by Prime. They're going for hundreds at times. Crazy. Can of juice. Talking about crazy sums of money, though, that brings us to the next news item. If we go back one, sorry. There we go. Galactic Star Cruiser merchandise now available at Shop Disney. With the Star Cruiser coming to an end on the 28th of September, Shop Disney's opened up a whole area on their shop with all the Galactic Star Cruiser products available that were previously exclusives to those attending, now available to us all. I don't think either of you guys have been to the Galactic Star Cruiser. No. Is there anything that was ever released for Galactic Star Cruiser that you wish you'd been able to get your hands on? Or is it something that's just happily ignored, that whole cash grab?
No, I actually had a look earlier. It looks like it's not on the UK Disney store.
Nope.
Only on the US, which is a bit of a shame.
Yep.
But the thing, even when they did the original tease of these are the products you can buy, there's the saber training tunic, like the grey arms and the blue body, and I really like the look of that.
Yeah.
And for like supposedly like in-world merch, I think it the price on the US Disney site, I think it was $69. I'm like, that is not extortionate.
Yeah.
No,
I think
no.
I think the quality of it is all considered to be quite good stuff.
Yeah, and so I know a couple of people that have been and said, that the stuff is really, really, really good. But yeah, so the other thing, the tunic, even if I had the opportunity to purchase, they'd only got them in extra small.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that might fit. No, this little guy. No, that little guy.
That one.
Yoda. That one.
Third time lucky.
Yeah.
The London 2012 mascot, you mean?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it might fit him, but yeah, I'm not getting in an extra small anytime soon.
That brings us to the last news story of the week, and I think one of the best quotes I think of the year so far from Rosario Dawson, and talking about Hayden Christensen, and that it's been a really cool moment, enjoying that it's been able to come back and also get embraced by the Star Wars family in the way I think he is deserved. It's definitely one of those things that would be super cool if he was in Ahsoka, but I'm just really grateful we're in the same universe. So she manages to really praise Hayden Christensen and how exciting it is for him to be back in Star Wars universe, and completely sidestep whether he's in Ahsoka at all. I kind of thought it was confirmed and stated that he was going to be in Ahsoka, but clearly it hasn't. It has never been. I kind of thought it was a given that he would come back for Obi-Wan. He was coming back for Ahsoka as well, but clearly that wasn't the announcement. That's just something I made up in my own head. Carl, are we assuming that he's in Ahsoka? He's in Ahsoka, isn't he?
Yeah, you would think there's gonna be some sort of flashback kind of thing.
Training montage.
Yeah, they did it. They did it with Obi-Wan. Obviously, there's.
I kind of feel that you have to, on the basis that if you're someone like me that doesn't watch the Star Wars animation, you're like, and I know Mandalorian tried to explain it a little bit, but this whole concept of, what do you mean Anakin Skywalker had an apprentice? I never saw that in the movies. So you kind of have to explain it somehow, and the only way you can't explain it is by having the two of them on the screen together at some point, and it literally tell the story.
I just want to get
a little bit of exposition.
I just want to get Anakin and Rosario on screen together, giving it the Sky Guy and Snips. Just get that in once. Hey, Sky Guy. Hey, Snips. Then moving swiftly on. Yeah,
Are you convinced he's in, Greg?
Yeah, he's definitely in it.
Yeah.
No doubt there'll be some. I reckon a flashback, like you say. I think it'll be the way they'll do it. I can't see him being force ghosted into it or anything like that. But you never know.
The only thing that would make it slightly odd is the era we're in with this story is obviously post Empire, as in after Return of the Jedi. So the Empire has fallen. So is there actually? Oh no! No, we are, aren't we? We're post Return of the Jedi because it's Mando era.
Yes.
So is there really the need? Because I guess what they're trying to set up is the Thrawn's taking over what was the Empire. Is there really the need to call back to Vader all the time?
Unless you have a run-in between Thrawn and Vader.
Yeah, I mean they've done that in the book. Not even a run-in really, have they? They've had the book where they're sort of and Thrawn clearly knows, unless Thrawn sort of throws it in as sort of Ah, your former master.
You can bring it in a few ways, I think. You can certainly bring in Thrawn's relationship with Vader. You can bring in Ahsoka's relationship with Anakin. You can maybe have the two between Thrawn and Ahsoka kind of cross paths over their various relationships with the same kind of guy. Depends on what way they want to go. But I think he's in it. He's in it because by this point you would say he wasn't, because the expectations are so high. It's like you would have to handle it and say, no, he's not in it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he's definitely in it.
Yeah. Looking forward to Ahsoka, Carol. Briefly.
Definitely.
The show. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Greg, I think you said at the start of the show that it was something that you were looking forward to as well.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's going to be excellent. And, I loved Star Wars Rebels. The animated show was fantastic. And it feels like it's going to be like Star Wars Rebels Season 5 almost, with the crew coming back together.
Yeah, they're all back, it looks like. And just to wrap up the show, one last shout out for Desert Planet Disc over on Father Tracks Radio as well. And guys, thank you very much for joining this week to discuss everything Star Wars. I am taking a holiday, so I will be back in 3 weeks' time with the next Good Morning Tatooine. And so I'll see you all in July. And good night from me. And you guys can say good night as well.
It's a good night from Carl.
It's a good night from Greg.
Cheers, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Cheers.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on panthatracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.